Hey everybody, my name's Kyle Jarrett. You can find me on Twitter at KJNSLC. Unfortunately, being funny on Twitter is a lot harder in person, Kat, so awkward. But I'm really excited to speak tonight about one of the greatest romantic comedies of all time. No, ladies? No? Okay. Anyways, I come from the world of political campaigns. I currently consult with political campaigns and nonprofits with their email fundraising. And prior to that, I spent about 5 years with the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee. They're the wing of the Democratic Party that's in charge of winning elections for the US Senate. And so I spent about 5 years there as their digital manager, running email fundraising and online fundraising, and having a great time, and it really kind of grew a passion for email fundraising and email marketing for me. So I'm kind of excited to share kind of some of those things that I've learned over the years, and as well as integrating email fundraising or email commerce into social media. So I always kind of see these blogs or articles coming up from tech websites talking about how email is dead or how email is dying, and I always have to laugh. They always, social media is going to blow email away, and texting and instant messaging, it's going to make email seem like that form of communication that our grandparents did. But in reality, it really can't be any further from the truth. Email is really far from dead. This graphic here comes from Media Bistro. We have total activity on different various platforms. Emails in the center. We got Twitter, Facebook. Total accounts is the bars going up, and daily activity is going down. It's 189 billion emails that are sent every single day, sent and received. And so, it's clearly destroying the activity that's on social media. Not to say that that activity isn't good, but email is definitely nowhere close to dying. And it's only gotten stronger over the last few years for email marketers, for email fundraising, for selling products online. A Wired article just about a year ago talked about how email is still crushing Facebook and Twitter for selling your products online. So email is not dead. When I started at the DSCC, they had a pretty good sized email list, but the money that they were raising from it just wasn't really blowing wasn't making anybody's socks roll up and down. And so my team, my department, we really came in and looked at, focused on the email list, built it. In our first 2 years for the 2010 cycle, we raised $35 million from our email list. 2 years after that, for the 2012 elections, we raised $55 million. And then by the time I left the DSCC and moved out here to Salt Lake in August of 2013, we had exceeded all of our fundraising goals that were set on the previous year's email fundraising, and set that their email program to be 50% of my Pandora's playing. That's odd. And set their email program to be 50% of the committee's revenue. And it's a $200 million committee, so 50% of that obviously is a lot of money being raised online through email and through online ads and through social media. So I promise, email is nowhere close to being dead. A couple things that I want to talk about with you guys tonight is some basic ways that we can build our list, your email list using social media, and vice versa, how you can build your social following using your email list. And before I get into some of those, I just want to share with you one of those 189 billion emails that were sent. And this one was sent to me when I was back at the DSCC from a gentleman who, unfortunately, he didn't really like our emails too much, which was odd. I thought everybody really loved marketing emails. But we sent this email out under my name, and the subject line was pouring over, and that's P-O-R-I-N-G, which means to read or study attentively, because we were pouring over the polling data for the upcoming election, okay, just to set the scene here. And here's what this guy had to say. Dear Mr. Jarrett, Holy shit! I am so sick and tired of being inundated with your daily emails begging me for money. I'm a proud Democrat, but I can't stand the barrage of emails from you. And on top of that, you send me this email that you're pouring, P-O-U-R-I-N-G, pouring over polling data. Who pours over polling data? Can't you write? Your constant emails make me so mad, and I can't stand it anymore. I'll never support you, and I just might vote for Republicans in an election. Oh, thanks, Dad. No, I'm kidding. Anyways, obviously not a huge fan of that particular, at that time, of our emails. But hopefully with some of these strategies that we talked about tonight, you can keep people happy and interested in your emails and interested in your social media. So like I said, a couple of ways to build your email list using social media. Three really kind of basic ways is with petitions, contests, giveaways. Obviously in the world of advocacy and political campaigns, petitions work really well. Basically, people really like to sign petitions. They like to feel like they're contributing in some way to a cause that they support. And it's a really low bar action to just sign an online petition supporting whatever. But people love to do it. There's an entire business, change.org, built off of the fact that people like signing petitions, and then someone else gets to sell that email address for a high price. But petitions are a great way to, if you're in the advocacy arena, to build your email list. You share these petitions on your social media, get new people onto your list. It's a little bit difficult for more, commercial, commercial businesses. But I recently did sign one that said, add your name if you're excited for Halo 5. And I was like, yeah, because I'm a nerd. So yeah, I'll sign a gaming petition, why not? But so they are out there and they can work, but they're definitely geared toward advocacy. Contests, also a great way to gain people to your email list. When I was at the DS, we usually did a contest once a quarter, usually something to do with like meeting the president at a fundraiser or meeting some senator that people like. But these worked as great tools for fundraising, great tools for list building, and adding new people to the list. And giveaways, lastly, are also a really great opportunity to add people to your list. Basically, what we do is, hey, sign up for your email list and we'll give you this free bumper sticker, go Democrats. Sorry, I'm trying not to be too political. I know I'm in Utah, and I love all political parties, except for one. But giveaways, here's something for free if you take this action. They also work great as premiums for other actions. Sign this petition and we'll give you a free bumper sticker. Enter this contest and we'll give you a free, comment on this and we'll give you a free bumper sticker type of stuff. So those are some basic ways that you can put onto social media to bring people onto your email list. Before I go any further, I wouldn't be a good email marketer if I didn't kind of talk about some standards of email marketing and how to get people onto your list in a good way to make it so that people aren't pissed off at you. Basically what we like to call opting in, basically allowing people the understanding that they're freely giving you their email address, and in return you get to do whatever the hell you want with it, particularly sell them stuff. But there are some places that tend to not kind of follow that rule of opting in. Like when I went to Anthropologie a couple weeks ago, and I went there for shopping for a gift for my wife. I want to make that very clear. Mostly for my wife. But I went there, I made a purchase, and they said, would you like to email your receipt? And I was like, yeah, sure, go paperless. So I had them email my receipt, and then a couple days later, I got this email, which says, when you said email my receipt, we heard let's keep in touch. No, that's not, no. What I was saying was, yes, email receipt so I can get the hell out of here, not so that we can stay in touch. I think a better way that they could have done it was, follow up on my, thanks for your purchase at Anthropologie. Would you like to join our email list? Click here, or take some other action, or follow us on social media type of stuff. So this is kind of the way you don't want to build your list. Don't just, because someone gave you their email address, doesn't mean that you then get to use it and raise money or sell them stuff. On the flip side, using your email list to drive people to your social media, obviously there's really simple tactics like just sending an email saying, hey, follow us on Twitter or Facebook. This is kind of a little bit more on your email programs. If you have auto-response, which hopefully you do, when someone joins your email list, your automatic, you should get an auto-response within a few seconds, within a few minutes, if your program's good. And on these auto-responses are a great way to then drive engagement to your social media list. This is from the Transportation Riders Union. I'm going to admit this is not the most beautifully designed auto-response. I didn't consult them on this, but I am on their email list, and I like what they're doing because they hit the right points for me. Because I like to think of an email list as a revenue stream, the first thing they do is they ask for a contribution, but then they give you things to share on Facebook or Twitter, and they're very nicely spelled out what it is that you're going to be sharing on Facebook, what it is you can be tweeting, and give you that option to do both, and as well as the last option to forward a friend and tell them about the company, which is also a great way to add people to your list. But I think having those social links on your auto-response is great because someone just signed up for your list showing that they're interested in your brand or your organization, which means if you're then contacting them fairly quickly, the chances of them taking that next action to follow you on Facebook, follow you wherever you might be, are much higher. Another great way is on your unsubscribe page. It's always sad to lose people from your email list, but that's just the nature of email. Is you add people unsubscribe, you have an attrition rate. But having that option to follow on your unsubscribe page is a great tactic, and HubSpot actually does it really well. They've got this really funny 1-minute video, basically where the guy cries a lot. But basically at the end, I understand you want off our email list, but here's some ways that we can still stay in touch. And gives them, all their social media accounts. If somebody really wants to get off their email list, they're going to get off your email list, but don't let that be the only thing that happens. Give them an opportunity to stay connected with you on your unsubscribe page with your social links. So the next thing I want to talk about is a little bit of message integration, how you can really drive what you're doing on your email list through to your social media. The first thing I want to talk about is subject line testing, and if your email platform doesn't have the ability to do A/B testing, and really it should be A, B, C, D, E, F, G testing, please go out and get a new email platform, because testing is really critical to the success of an email program, and subject line testing is the best way to ensure that your emails get the most opens possible, so that they can stand out amongst the crowd of all the other emails in your inbox. On a side note, if you have a really cool name, or if someone in your organization has a really cool name, have that people be a signer for your emails. In the past election, now Senator Tammy Baldwin, she had a finance director, and her name, what?
Wisconsin.
Yeah, Wisconsin, right? Yeah, go Tammy. She had a finance director, and her name was Raven McShane. Yes, Raven McShane, which is the most badass name I've ever heard. And so they had her sign some emails for the campaign, a lot of emails for the campaign, and her open rate just jumped through the roof, all because her name was just awesome. So if you're unfortunate like me and you have a really boring name, find somebody in your organization that has a really cool name. If there's nobody that has a cool name, then make sure that you're subject line testing so that your emails stand out. But how does that translate to social media? Because a lot of times there's not that much opportunity to do testing on social media, although I would love it if there were more available ways to test which tweet is going to do better. But what you can do is, if you're integrating the messages of your email program onto your social, look at the results of your testing to help guide those decisions. If you're sending out a subject line test and one does really well, use that as your headline for your Facebook post or for your Facebook ads. Use that as the headline. Use if you're testing graphics in your email, use the winning graphic in your social media posts. Let the things that you test in your email guide what you're doing on social media. Here's an example of one that we did that worked really well for us just before the 2012 VP debates, which nobody gives a crap about, right? We sent out an email with a card, which you can't do a card, but anyways, we did a card, sign this card to tell Joe Biden good luck in the next debate, right? And so we tested about 4 different subject lines, and one of them was "Give 'em hell, Joe." And this subject line just completely destroyed everything else. It wasn't even close to anything else. So we're like, hey, we have something really strong here. So we ran with it. We created Facebook graphics, Twitter graphics. We had that as our headings for our online ads that we were doing on Facebook to promote this card. And we just plastered it everywhere. And this was one of our first posts for that little campaign. And it was, up to that point, it was one of our top performing posts on Facebook because we let the things that we were discovering in our email testing drive what we were also doing on social media. The next thing I just want to talk about kind of briefly is the power of Facebook Power Editor. I know that we've talked about it at least in the last event here at SMC, but Power Editor is a really great tool to use for your Facebook advertising, because what you can do with it is you can upload your email list to Facebook, and then you can drive ads, specific ads, to people that are on your email list that are also matching up in Facebook. But you can upload as many email lists as you like, and so what you can do is you can segment people on your email list based on the actions that they've taken on your emails. So, for example, in our end-of-month fundraising campaigns, we would send out a couple of fundraising emails to our whole list. And then we'd take the data from those emails and we would create segmented lists based on whether somebody simply opened our email, or whether they clicked on a link inside of the email, or whether they actually went through and made a donation to that email. We created separate lists for each of these types of people. And so then on Facebook, we uploaded these lists and we drove specific advertisements to them on Facebook based on their actions. So if somebody opened an email, the advertisement would say, "Hey, thanks for reading our email. The deadline's only 6 hours away. Will you donate?" Or if it was someone who clicked on a link, it would be, "Hey, thanks for visiting our donation page. Will you make a donation? The deadline's X hours away." And then with someone who has already donated, it was, "Hey, thanks for donating. Will you step up and be a monthly donor?" And so we were able to drive specific targeted ads to people based on their action that they took in the emails. This is kind of a crude example of what we would have done, but had I opened an email, I would have expected to see a Facebook ad, on my profile about a day later, based on the action that I took, telling me to go contribute. And of course, I had a Domino's Pizza ad because, I like crappy food. But it's a powerful tool to segment your list and to get those people targeted ads on your Facebook. This is kind of what I mean by a segmented list, in case you're kind of unfamiliar with that. But another great strategy is, if you're sending out emails that have some sort of social function to it, share this on Facebook, share this on Twitter, or whatever. Your email platform should have something called link tracking, which is where you're able to see who's clicked on what link and how many times, how many people have clicked on that link. And what you can do is then take that data of all these people who clicked on your social links in your emails and create a subset list of those people, and then email those people more specifically and more directly than you would the rest of your list. People that I like to call social clickers, people that are at least clicking on your social media icons, they're clicking on your share this link. And then in the future, you can drive more specific email messages to them, even saying, hey, I know that you're active on social media and we need your help doing, X, or please share this. And so you can, using your link tracking, you can target people in your email list that are socially active by the links that they click on, and drive some better results that way. The last thing that I just kind of want to wrap up with is something that's really personal, not personal, but something I'm really big supporter of, which is using your email list and being more social with it. I hate getting an email from a brand or an organization that I love, and their email address is do not reply at whatever.com. I hate it when, or like in the email it says, do not reply to this email. I hate people telling me not to communicate with them. That makes me sound like a stalker. But anyways, I'm a big advocate of engaging with your email list, just like you would engage with your social followers, that you would retweet or respond back to people on Facebook or Twitter. I'm a big proponent of that in email marketing. Understandably, that some companies who are massive and have massive email lists, that's not as feasible. But at my time at the DS, we were running a multi-million name list, and we were taking the time to go through the responses that came to our inbox from the emails that we send out. On a typical email, we could expect to get 800 to 1,200 replies. But the great thing was that a majority of them were people telling me that they were out of the office. So it really whittled that down to 400 people who actually took the time to write something back to one of our emails. And my team, we took the time to go through those emails, address questions, address problems that they may have had with a donation, or at least let them vent about how much they hate the party and what we're doing to America, which is only good things. So I don't know why they'd say that, but I'm a big proponent of being active on your email list. If you remember that email that I talked about in the beginning, I sent that gentleman a reply, and basically I said, I understand that we send a lot of email, because we do send a lot of email, but the reason we do is because elections are important, and I then copy and pasted a definition of pouring too, just to kind of clear that up. I just wanted to make sure he knew that I could write. So I was like, just so you know, Merriam-Webster defines pouring as, and I told him, if you'd like me to take you off our list, I'm more than happy to do that. Anyways, this was his reply to that email. Hi, Kyle. Thanks for responding. I honestly didn't even think that anyone would read that email, let alone respond to it. I apologize for my words, and honestly, I was having a bad day, and I lashed out. The amount of email does get really frustrating, but this election really is important, so I get it. I was just really angry at the time. Also, sorry for not understanding your use of pouring. I was wrong. I already deleted that email, but if you could send me a new link, I'd be happy to make a donation. So I sent the guy a link to a donation page. He made it within the next hour, and it was his first donation to the list. So this isn't an isolated incident. I'm a big fan of being social with your email list. There are ways that you can get through all the noise and address people and have that social interaction, just like you would on social media, with your email list. And when you do, it makes the people on your email list more engaged, more active, and hopefully opening up their wallets more for whatever you're selling or fundraising off of. Anyways, that's all I've got. I really appreciate SMC for having me out tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions at the end.